Yeah, yeah. So I looked to see, okay, did I write some stuff on there? Yes, I did, so.
Because I know a lot of times the first pass through, I'll go.
That sounds silly, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then sometimes Bill and I have to ask each other questions. We got another, just a little bit more time.
Yeah.
I'm watching that clock, it's well positioned.
Well, and that's a racket, that's a, you know, because they, there's some other cities and their model breastfeeding, and I'm like, well, here's the thing, your model
Cohen,
have value.
do you want to sign up for public participation? Well, just catch my attention, mine or Bill's.
I'll walk right up there and I'll just stand there and glare at you.
Oh, okay.
So what we just done, we just boosted Douglas. Oh. Way out. Yeah. Not self-insuring, but effectively, you know, there has to be something catastrophic.
Oh, I love it.
Three, two, one. Okay. Okay, I will bear that in mind. Hello, I would like to call this meeting to order, and thank you all for being here, and I'd like to ask Ms. Scott to call the roll, please.
Babcock,
Here,
Halligan.
Here.
Neely,
Here,
Olinger,
Here?
Perkins,
Here.
5 present.
thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, thank you very much. Approval of our minutes. We have to approve these separately, although the council has approved at least some of them, yes. Oh, all of them, it appears. All right, have you had the opportunity, I hope, to read through the minutes, and do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
And
But what?
you have to read each one of them individually for the record.
Oh, pardon me.
That's
Thank you
okay.
for catching me.
Yep, no
Thank you very much. Okay, the minutes from October, minutes of the Finance Advisory Committee meeting of October 21st night, 2024.
You can do them all at the same time.
Oh.
And then they can vote.
Oh, just so I read them
That's correct.
individually.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
very much.
You're
Minutes of the Joint City Council and Finance Advisory Committee meeting of November 18th, 2024. Minutes of the Joint City Council and Finance Advisory Committee meeting of August 18th, 2024. Can we let the first?
25.
25, thank you very much. Gotta watch me. Is it possible to let that first and second stand that we had already?
No, you need to call the.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Abstentions? Thank you. All right. Public participation? No. Okay. Old business, we have none, and our new business is to consider the budget that the city manager and the staff and the wonderful folks that head all the major divisions in the city have contributed to. And so, Mr. Nicholas, would you speak to us?
Thank you. Yes, I'll take the lead tonight, but we are here in Mass. We have a number of people in the audience, as you can see, department heads and directors. Susan Hama is sitting here as the Director of Financial Services. Michelle Anderson had a key role as HR Director, obviously. Megan Challand is here, who is our Senior Accountant, and I've referenced all of them in my background. And I like to try to hit a pace when I'm doing this that is your pace, and so if I'm going a little too fast, just do whatever you need to do to slow me down, and if I'm too slow, then do whatever you need to do to
I
pick
don't
me up.
think any of them are bashful. It'll be okay.
Okay, good. You have a number of tools for this conversation tonight. You have a packet that was sent to you. It's very slightly amended to correct a minor issue that I noted within an hour or two of sending it out. It never fails. But, so you have that, you have a narrative summary, and then you have a lot of spreadsheets with that representing the general fund and the water fund and some key capital funds. By no means all of the city funds, but the greater share of them. Also, in your background, you will have noticed something that looks like this. I made another copy of that because that's specific to the general fund. It shows you where we are in terms of natural revenue and expenditures planned for the goals that have already been generally identified. And then some transfers out of our general fund reserve for specific purposes, which have been discussed in general, and now they're starting to show up on spreadsheets. And then finally, just as if you hadn't already seen a lot of things on our annual property tax levy discussion, over the weekend I thought I'd give you yet another piece of that. It's about 5 pages, and it takes you through a lot of history and then obviously some options for discussion tonight. And I will focus a little bit on that because what you recommend is something I bring to the council at their meeting next Monday on the 27th. And once we get to that go point, once the council determines what is the levy they would like to see for our community, the city levy, then we start locking in some things in the general fund in particular. So, and if it's okay with you, I think we can operate this, Madam Chair, on a workshop basis, and first name basis is
Yes.
sufficient, if you're agreeable to that. Okay. So, let's begin. First, this is about, what did Churchill say? This may not be the end, this may not be the beginning, but this might be the beginning of the end. And so the beginning of this process every year really started before we got to the August joint meeting. And then the August joint meeting was a major threshold, and this is another major threshold with a little more information, a little more fine-tuning. And then in less than a month, we'll be back here in another joint meeting, which is November 17th, the third Monday in November. And that is the point where we go page by page through 340 pages. Well, we'll go as fast as you want. But that's 340 pages. This is 50. So, but these are the high points. So let me begin on what I think might be interesting for you to discuss tonight. We'll start with the general fund. That's the fund that is best known for the departments it funds by our residents and businesses. And there are some key revenues. We went through this a little bit. Now the numbers are a lot sharper. These are revenues on page 2 in your background that make up almost 75% of our general fund spending, our general operating fund spending. And you can see what they are: property taxes, sales and use taxes, utility tax, investment interest, which has been notable enough to put up on the board, if you will, in recent years. Sometimes we have major government funding. Next year, we will have another SAFER grant, which will help us with the firefighter paramedic hires that we need to complete the staffing of the new fire station 4, and also to hit our minimum staffing limit, which we defined about 3 years ago. And so that's a sum of about 75% of the general fund. The background jumps then immediately into a key source that is of very keen interest to our residents and businesses, and that's our fire and police property tax levies. As some of you have been hearing me say for years, and some newer members are now well aware of this, when you get your tax bill, there's usually 2 lines for each taxing body, and the city has a general line, and then it has a pension line. And most of the taxing bodies have the same kind of general operations and pensions. So a number of years ago, people opened their tax bill and said, Nicholas forgot to fill in the operation side. And that wasn't the case. It was because none of our property tax goes into general operations or operations in any form. It does go into the pensions though, and so we have one line item which is an active line item, but we keep the other one. And that number does go up. The state pension system expects, based on the amortization schedule that they keep, that it should go up 7% a year. We haven't always raised our property tax levy 7% a year, as you can see by the background that I've given you. Some years it's been less than that. Sometimes it's been a little bit more. Last year, because of the enormous EAV increase, we did increase it by 8%, and there was still a benefit to local taxpayers in terms of out-of-pocket taxes paid. So we had the benefit, the development benefit of higher EAV that helped in that respect. But we have a shortfall, and have had a shortfall since 2016, and I've highlighted that in the fairly busy table that I gave you on page 3, table 2, which highlights in yellow the money that we, in addition to the property tax levy, which is not, we're trying to keep that levy down so the rate will go down, we have to pull out of our general fund balance or general fund reserve. I use that interchangeably, balance reserve, just so you know. We have benefited from a lot of significant development, transformational really on our south side, and it's been industrial development. We had less than, just countywide, by the way, just as a sort of an aside, until 2022, the county-wide portion of EAV that was can be attributable to industrial was less than 5%. Now it's pushing 20%, and that's a significant change in a semi-rural county. I mean, still, I think just under 90% of all the land in the county is used for agricultural purposes. So that's very significant. And the DCEDC, DeKalb County Economic Development Corporation, has for 40 years been trying to advance and expand industrial activity around the corporate, the municipal centers that we have, and because of what they do for jobs and also what it does for the general standard of living for our community members. So that's a significant thing. In the city of DeKalb, the numbers have jumped almost in the same rate. We already had a little bit better than 5% on industrial, not much, and it's about there. I didn't spread a chart on that, but that's something we've talked about before. So the city of DeKalb's property tax rate with this higher EAV has been reduced by just under 50% since 2018. That's extraordinary. At the same time, the value of properties in DeKalb Township, just talking about DeKalb Township, not Afton Township where Met is, has increased by just under 50%. Oh, now if you're selling your house, that's great news. If you're not selling your house, you're seeing a challenge when it comes to property tax. Last year, we had a rate which defied imagination just a few years ago. What I have shown you are a couple of options. The rate the option I'm recommending is to stick with the rate from last year, which is 0.622 and change. That's down from about $11.50 per hundred, down to 62 cents a hundred in those 5-6 years. It's powerful information for us. But there are a couple of other possibilities, but you know, it's a three-legged stool, so we don't set the EAV. We could say, let's just hope that the EAV is bigger, and that way we can raise maybe our levy a little bit. But I've been around for a while, and that's probably a fool's errand. That's the That's not our money. You can nevertheless lower your levy, but then we have to dip a little deeper into the general fund reserve. We are already doing that on the pension side. We're also doing it on the street maintenance side, and we had a couple of capital budgets for the police and fire operating budgets that weren't being met by the natural growth of revenue for, and we know that we've had some structural problems both in vehicle replacement and also in street replacement. So add all that together, I did not recommend that. Let me get through the revenues, then we can come back, because I do want you to weigh in on the property tax side. Municipal utility tax, I will just note that that has jumped in the last year, and it will be strong this year, stronger than ever before. Starting next year in 2020, the next budget after the 26 budget, so the 27 budget, we'll be sharing 50% of the meta contribution, not the whole budget, but the meta contribution.
Bill,
But, yes.
give me a page number, please.
Page 6, I'm
Thank you.
sorry.
That's okay.
In the narrative, it's under the municipal utility tax.
Okay.
And, but it's gone up 32% over the FY '24, in other words, last year's actual. So that's something that used to go up 5% a year, if that. And so it's jumping. And if it went up 40% or 45% next year and we got half of that, we'd still make an enormous amount of utility tax. So the state income tax, it's always a little bit of conjecture and a little bit of science. You look back, but the per capita incomes have defied a lot of prognosticators' guesses in the last couple of years. Little dips in the local economy or the state economy haven't seemed to slow that pace. It's not running away, but it's continuing to rise. So we usually lean on the Municipal League, Illinois Municipal League's references, and that's how we came up with the per capita estimate. It comes to us on a per capita basis. So those are the big four: sales tax, property tax, utility tax, and state income tax. So general fund. Those revenues together fund the bodies that are shown on page 6 and the table 7 right in the middle of the narrative page, broken down over the last 3 years and projection for 26. One of the positions that we have been tasked with considering, and we have been going through interviews in the last 2 weeks on, is a more senior analyst position, which will be tasked with some unique capital project responsibilities for tracking purposes, and that person would be working closely with the Public Works Director or City Engineer. We have hired a City Engineer since we saw you last, and some things are still not known. The City Engineer that we hired has more experience, I would say, in tracking expenditures, and so there's a little bit of the couple people, the engineer and the person in this new position will be working out some kind of symmetry here to see, what do they know and what don't they know, how can they help each other and so forth, under the guidance day to day of a number of people, including yours truly. So, by the way, we had some good interviews, some good candidates. What we find, we have some people who are really all over the numbers, not a lot on what the planning part of it is, and then some people are all over the planning part, maybe not so much in the numbers. And we found a few that got to final interviews in the last days, end of last week, that have both in some shape or another. So I think we'll be pleased with how we end up there. Transfers out, I just want to linger on this and then I'll pause. The transfers out include annually money that goes out to pay our debt service. And on page 7, you see where we are. Our general obligation debt is going to start falling off in clumps. We don't have an objective right now for borrowing from the general fund. We'll get to the water fund, and we are going to do some borrowing there. But this is the general fund table only, and we had a little bump up in order to get started on the debt service for the new the Fire Department 4 station, and then that starts coming down in 31 at the end of FY30. So we're about 5 years away, five fiscal years away, and then we're just down to the Station 4 debt service. We've paid off then in the last 5 years the considerable debt service for the police station construction and some other big projects that are like 10, 15 years ago, and we're just coming out of that now, and the library too. We helped the DeKalb Public Library. So, and then other transfers from our general fund reserve include street maintenance, as I said, that's just under 1.3 million. 100,000 for fire department facility repairs, which would be nice to be able to spend out of regular revenue, natural revenue. 100,000 for police department investigative equipment, again, wish we could do that, but we're not able to do that. And these are all key. There's a longer list. These are the essentials that we brought forward to you and the council to discuss. Finally, on page 8, you see where we are, and that's where this little blow up probably comes in handy. With all of these transfers out, it puts us out of balance. If you look under the FY26 projected, because the reserve monies are considered part of the general spending out of the general fund. It's all one fund. We don't have a reserve fund, in which case maybe there'd be some conversation that we could have with the auditor. But in this case, it's all general fund. It's just that it's basically all unrestricted. We have a policy where we set aside money, but the council can go in and take money out and do it. So, but the balance is very considerable. At the end of 26, we projected that the balance, even with these projections, is around 60% of our annual expenditures. And one area that we'd like to, I hate to say this, you'll kill me for this, but we'd like to spend some money, is, as you well know, we're coming up on a 250th anniversary of the approval of the Declaration of Independence. And that only comes once. We're not going to celebrate the 251st. Well, we could, but I don't think we will. So, the mayor feels, I feel, the council feels, I think most people in the community feel that's a special date, and that there ought to be a year of planned discussion around that. The mayor's organized a committee to stakeholders from our community to work on this. We're having a meeting at the end of this week for a second general meeting, and we're the wheels are getting on, and we're moving forward. So I don't know what you feel would be inappropriate. I purposely left this open. We have some money for this. It's going to be a one-time thing, and as tight as I am, I would like to see us spend about $250,000. Wouldn't that be kind of interesting? Now, what would you spend that on? Well, we're not going to spend it on fireworks. We'd be ashamed if that's all we did. Although, we're going to have good fireworks, I can guarantee that. But we have been talking for decades about what makes us unique and how is that symbolized, whether it's murals or sculpture or what is it? And we may not come up with a budget for that, but what we'd like to do between now and November 17th is fill out something for you and price it out. And then that'll be part of what you're voting on. This would be money that would be transferred one time from the general fund reserve to probably our capital fund, so that it's capital purposes. It's not we're not hiring people out of this. It's something that it's an investment, not a party. So there are spots in our downtown, there are spots around town where something that speaks as residents see it, and as if visitors come into town, it's on one of the main thoroughfares. That's DeKalb, and it's not going to be a big cow. Well, it could be. Won't be. Probably not.
No.
It's going to be something, and it's going to be symbolic of who we are and what we aspire to be.
May I ask a question? I have noticed that some communities, rather than using fireworks in celebrations, have gone to using drones or other types of aerial displays, celebration things. And honestly, as a dog owner, this is
yeah, you're
very
like that.
interesting to me.
All right, we'll look at it,
Thank you.
and they can be reused. Probably. I don't know if they can be.
I haven't looked into it. I'm
The more
just aware
expensive
they
ones, I'm sure, can be
exist.
reused.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to think about, but the time marches on, so we'll work on this. That's what I have for a general overview.
Okay.
You have questions about the general fund? Okay. I'm going to go into the capital funds. Yes, Paul.
On the utility tax.
Yes, sir.
On the utility tax, as you're looking at how that comes in, are you using as a basis the original 3 buildings from Meta that you're anticipating doubling then with the other coming
It's a
online?
little, it's not a real finite, but it's our guess, because they're not all fully energized yet, but they're making very strong progress toward that. And I think, I'm not going to speak for the company, but I think it's going to be in FY '26 that will be achieved. So then by the time we get to '27, when the obligation kicks in, I figure we'll still be very strong. And in 2019 and 20, when we were negotiating this, we had no idea, but we were informed by the company representatives that this is the range, and it was phenomenal. You may remember we had to adjust our schedule because there was no ceiling, or there's still no ceiling, but I mean there were not gradations that went high enough by 50%. So we're going to start to see some of that filling in, and as other projects unfold, there will be some of that too.
And the other one with impact would be Kraft Heinz?
Yes, it will.
Anything to say on that?
Again, I can't speak for the company, but they are just about done with pouring of the concrete. The steel now can, there's a curing period. It'll be everything that's required by their engineers and their best judgment, and there will be, I think, a lot of activity. Some cranes will start going up again, and we'll see that. So by the end of '26 into '27, I mean, the company's saying second quarter of '27, but with the concrete poured and with the ring around the hole done, for all intents and purposes, it's the structural part, and that is structural. The walls actually hang on the rack rather than the walls going up and rack-built independent inside. So, as you see it going up, that's more momentous than you might otherwise think.
Thank you.
Okay, talk about, I'll run through the capital funds, just stop me. This is where unfortunately I get my motor going, so it's gonna go, just stop me. We have 3 funds that we have shown you already this year in August, and we highlight because they are the heart of our capital program. We have a motor fuel tax fund, which generates naturally, without any transfers from the general fund, about $1 million a year for street maintenance. And the capital projects fund, which is a companion, which is Fund 400, another $750,000, so that's 1.75. We're getting to $3 million in this budget proposal that's before you tonight for street maintenance, which involves a transfer of about $1.25 million from the general fund reserve. In addition to helping with street maintenance, the motor fuel tax is how we defray our electrical charges for street lights, how we pay for our road salt purchases, and then some other street supplies and commodities. The capital projects fund is more of a potpourri. We use that for some IT, major IT investment for facility repairs, for, in the case of this year's budget, $100,000 for fire department facility repairs, $100,000 for police department investigative equipment. We've got some miscellaneous building improvements. We've got a $50,000 a year contribution we make to Barb City Manor, which I think you all know, that's a city property, but it's run by an independent board, and they are terrific when it comes to sticking to their budget. We negotiate every year. They solicit bids if they need them for elevator repairs or for new paving outside or new windows, new roofs, and all the rest of the things that otherwise would fall to us. And we contribute $50,000. That's all that they've asked. And that will continue. We have an agreement, right, a 10-year agreement. We're about 6 years into, so we've got another 4 years of that. And then the capital replacement fund, and in your numbers, you will see that we have proposed about $300,000 for the police department squad replacements. We are on a schedule now for the first time. In the last 5 years, we've gone back on a schedule. For about 10 or 12 years, we weren't on any schedule, and we were just running our vehicles in the ground. Problem with that is you increase their annual repair costs, and when a car goes down, then you're less one car. So Public Works vehicles are not getting any cheaper either. We've got $485,000 dedicated. We have one aerial truck to pay off. We got a great deal on that, thanks to Andy Rye. We've got a pickup with a plow, and a bigger dump with a plow, and then a crack filling machine. You know, we've tried to creatively fill potholes and things. Before they become potholes, sometimes they're the fissures that open up in the first 3 to 5 years of a newly paved road. And that's the time to get those cracks filled, because in no time they become, chips start coming out, and then pretty soon it's a pothole that never goes away. So this will help, and then we have a carryover of some money for dump trucks that are currently in final production that we had ordered some years, well, a year and a half ago. So that's those are the capital highlights, the things that people will see in the course of '26. So a couple of new vehicles, so aldermen will be able to say, oh yeah, we've been planning on that for 3 or 4 years. Water fund. We're going to have more action in the water. Yes, sir.
Before going too far ahead, can we go back to the page 9, the street
Yes.
maintenance plan? So we're looking at, so high level, we're looking to spend $3 million on street repair in '26, right?
Yes.
So So, some history, we, spent 4.5 this year?
Yep.
And was it 2.5 before that, I wanna say?
Yeah, I've got
Anyhow,
a-
the trend is up because we're
Top
catching
of
up.
page 10, there's that chart that shows you.
Because we were catching up, right?
Yep, yeah.
So, how close will this 3 million, or what will this do to our,
Good
getting
question.
our overall streets in decent or better shape?
So, this is the year also 25 into 26, when we have to come up with a new 5-year plan. So one of the things that the new engineer's been tasked with is through the winter, not only in working on the plans for the next year's street maintenance, but coming up with a 5-year plan, because what we peg for the street maintenance in 26 has to be in that plan. But then you all could make a 5-year plan that would be that long, it would be easy to do. Within a budget of about 3 million, we'll come back to the council, obviously, but if it was 3 million, which would be, except for this current year, would be like the high water mark for most years in the last 8 years, just as a starting point for discussion. We'll have a 5-year plan built around that, and you can go up or down from there, and we'll be able to see. There will be some years where we'll just want to pay more, because, as an example, what we have tentatively come up with for next year, Hillcrest, West Hillcrest has been on from Sycamore Road through First Street all the way over to Normal, has been on the books for a long time, and it's getting worse and worse. And then there is a patchwork quilt of patches on North First Street from about the north side of the First Street Bridge up to Tilton Park Drive. There's probably a dozen holes and patches there. We would go on Hillcrest next year, and this would be the main major collector street that we do. And then clean up some things on either side at First Street, but that'll be all new street, we'll have a new kind of fiber matting that goes down that hopefully will add another couple years to what we've been doing, and we're hoping that's gonna that gets a lot of traffic though. So that's one, and now we've got, from whatever that cost is, and we don't know what it is yet, we'll have an estimate pretty soon, to 3 million. What else is there? There's 3 other things that we'd like to do, and those are in flux because there's another 6 behind those that we could do pretty easily. But so that 5-year plan will then, it's not going to be the Bible, so to speak, meaning no disrespect to the Bible, but it will be a guide, because streets blow up or they suddenly settle a little bit and they're not deteriorating as much as they had been, say, for 2 or 3 years running. And sometimes our patching, holds things together. So this is the give and take, but we will come up with a plan that the council will have to vote on and approve. Does that answer your question?
Well, no, not really, because
Oh, okay.
what I was really driving at is 3 years ago, right? What part of the argument for increasing these is because we had foregone some maintenance because of COVID and a number of other things years and years prior to that.
Yes.
So that resulted in essentially, I don't know the mechanics of it, but an average street score of X.
Oh, I
And
get it.
that average street score indicated that we had, I can't remember exactly, but say 50 or 60% of our streets that were at or near failing.
Yeah,
My question is
okay. I
this
got it.
3 million,
What does that do?
What'll that do to that score, and how close are we
Well,
to catching up?
again,
Because
I-
it's a 2-part thing, really,
Yep.
because it ties back into the pension thing, too.
Yep.
Because essentially what we're doing here is we're choosing to invest money in the streets because the streets are failing. Meanwhile, we've got this pension issue that's still out there, still
Yeah, it
looming, and that ramp is still coming up.
Let me-
So where I'm really going with that is,
Yeah.
how many more years of this do we have
Yeah.
before we can start redeploying potentially some of this to that pension problem that's out there? Because I'm not counting on Springfield or our governor, who has his eye on a big office in Washington, to do anything with it. I think it's ultimately gonna land with us. So it's kind of a multi-part
It-
question.
It's a good question, and you know, we're thinking about it too, and we're talking about it. So, let's deal with the street maintenance. I see, I'm sorry I got down into the weeds on that, but, we'll know pretty soon what that means, for the next 2 or 3 budgets. We'll see where we are. We have, at the end of this year, because of the $4.5 million blitz, based on what we heard this time last year, all of the streets that had, nearly all the streets that were on the failed list, not all,
Mhm.
because you could drag me tonight and show me that's failing, but what is, oh, there you go. But we've gone from 45%, it wasn't 60, but 45% down to about 15–20%.
Okay.
So that's progress, but that came at a pretty healthy price.
Sure did.
But we have to do better than that. So our sweet spot was always going to be C. So A, B, C, D, F. And with 45% at F, and that's okay now, but now they're D, which means leaning toward failure. I remember my grade school stuff. So we want to get past that, and I'd feel a lot more comfortable if I had that 5-year plan in front, which is going to be based now on pavement condition indexing of all the major streets. So it's not just drive around, it's actually do borings and so forth. And Andy Rye will be involved in that. John Laskowski, who's our new city engineer, will be involved in that. And we'll get some help on that too. All right, so that's that piece. So when we present the bids to the council in March, by that point, I'll have a sharper answer to that about where we're going to be at the end of '26 and where we can be at the end of '27, '28, '29, '30, okay?
Okay.
Pension. So, hold on to your seats. In '25, our projection is we actually are $1 million less in unfunded liabilities. And how did that happen? If you look on page, now, it's not in the big background. If you look in this, I'll direct you to it. The bottom of page 5. This time last year, we were at 105.3 million in unfunded liabilities. It's down to 104 now. And how'd that happen? Well, I thank the police and fire pension funds for investing wisely. And Brian, you'll appreciate this. So our bogey every year, according to our actuarial table, our actuarial reports, is about we have to come up with 7% more to cover the current working lives, and then also the retirees who we're accountable for. And we weren't doing that. Last year we exceeded that, and that made a difference here too. We put a little bit more money in, which means when you look back at that chart where I show you the what's got to come out of the general fund reserve, you know, it's that blue and yellow. You'll see that we're down in '26 in what our actuarial obligation is beyond every dollar of property tax. So that's a good. That's a good thing. Another thing that happened. So the police, credit to the fire unions and the trustees of all those union funds who 5 years ago, with the state statutory framework, combined all the fund holdings. There are still those pension funds out there making decisions about retirements and so forth, and disabilities and what have you. But when it came to the holdings, they were all consolidated. Police statewide fought that until about a year and a half ago. It's settled now. They are combined. So that obviously takes a lot of cost out of the system. Now everyone doesn't have the same actuarial annual expenses and so forth. So the other thing is that the state is probably going to, in the spring, I've said this now for 5 years, but I think it's more likely now. More likely than not, isn't it what an attorney would say? Is going to kick the Armageddon year from 2040 to 2050, which for about 4-5 years will lower the ramp. So again, less pressure on that. So to get to your point, you're thinking, now's the time to make hay, right? So let's see what we come up with those bids and see how far the bids are going. We've had some pretty aggressive street bids in the last couple of years, and that $4.5 million was a lot. But this year we also want to throw in a couple alleys, particularly down South 5th, South 6th, that area. And that just takes a little bit more away from the more traveled highways and byways. But if it's something that the council needs to do, like if we are just that much short of doing another nice collector, maybe we have that discussion at the council level. Let's just go a little further. We're going to do some alternate bids. We'll ask for some alternates. So, all right, here's the base, and here's 2 or 3. If we were to do this, what would that cost? And we do this, and then we'll have a package, and maybe it'll be up again. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Should I proceed into water now, real quick, or what do you want to do? Okay.
Sure.
All right. Any other questions about that? Water.
Into the deep water.
We're in it, deep water. This is the deep water. So our water fund makes its money mostly from user fees, and there's a lot of detail on that. This all in your background begins on page 11. And there are actually 3 funds. The water fund is the operating fund, and then there are 2 capital funds. There's a water construction fund, which is mostly impact fees. We haven't had a lot of those coming in the last 6 years because we've had a moratorium on impact fees on residential development. And then the water capital fund. Water capital fund is the main capital fund for water purposes, and the council made a prescient decision years ago to take some part, it's like forced savings, take some part of whatever increase, inflationary increase the council determines is necessary and defensible in the user fee rate, and 2/3 of that, not a third, 2/3 of that goes into the water capital fund, because that stuff doesn't get any cheaper to replace. So we're replacing a lot of old water main. We did that on North First. I know there's issues with getting that done, but it was a rotten main. We did it in a couple other places on the north side. In addition to those things, which we'll still have money to do, what we're proposing over the next couple of years, and what the council in a couple different sittings and actions has supported, is 2 major capital projects, just water here, not sanitary sewer, not roads. But as our south side expands and develops, the greater part of the cost for that is private costs associated with road widening. We've got some, Keslinger Road, for instance, is still a country road, 2-lane. It's going to be widened to look like Fairview Drive, a 3-lane section with a middle turn lane, and it's a wider right-of-way. It goes from about 80 feet to about 150 feet when you count the ditches and so forth, because the ditches have to include a very deep sewer that you're running from the east toward the west and then north to get to the back of our plant. And it's something that needs a lot of, the cone upside down here needs to be very wide in order to make it safe to actually install that and then to repair it. So that's all a private development cost, and so are the roads. So, but the water is something that we have historically, we've had the means to do it, and we control it, so we feel we can do it right and according to our higher standards. We are looking to extend a transmission main from where it ends right now on Route 23, south of Gerler on the Meta side, on the east side, take it down to Keslinger, east to Afton Road, which is the road we put in about 5 years ago, and then north back up to Gerler, where it will connect with our existing system on Gerler. So it's a new loop, and it can help serve 2,500 acres ultimately, which also includes some acreage on the west side of 23, south of Gerler, that someday, as the remaining private properties transition probably in another generation toward from maybe residential to something else. So we'll just pop some extensions across the street, put them in a valve and a hydrant and call it a day, but it'll be there. And then the other thing is to drill a well. Why? Because our water study that we did, it took 1.5 years and it was presented to the council in May, pointed out that, and it's usually looking in 5-year intervals, by 2035, we were going to be reaching a point where the capacity to meet new construction was going to be strained, or we were at that tipping point. And we wanted to get past that, even though we were looking a lot better than we thought we would as a result of this independent study that was done by Baxter and Woodman. Drilling a shallow well, we have 6 deep wells and 3 shallow wells. And a new shallow well will add about just under 1.5 million gallons per day more. And we right now pump, on an average, we have a capacity to go to 12 million gallons per day. That's, if we had a major fire, I'd be pumping full tilt, draining the tanks or the towers and for about 3 or 4 hours. But then you run hot and you start burning out motors, and that's not a good plan. But we can do about 9.5 million gallons per day on average. We fill our tanks at night, and they drain at off-peak. And then they sort of go down during the day as our businesses and homes use the water, pump them up again at night. And that would take us comfortably another 5 years or so beyond at 2035. We have been approached by a number of manufacturing entities that are big water users, and we have said no to them because you can't catch up fast enough. And also, we're very mindful of our stewardship when it comes to the aquifers that aren't just ours; they're shared by everybody in a major regional way. And I'm happy to say that every day there's a test that we do on all of our wells to show, as we pump, does the water come back up in the straw? And I'm happy to say that it generally does. You know, there's been a little use. You've seen we're pumping more, but we're not depleting the aquifer according to the studies that we've just recently completed. And we are nevertheless, we've engaged through Baxter and Woodman conversation with the Illinois Water Survey, which is the statewide body whose job is to tend the aquifers and to know what's going on and to make their own judgments about these things. And so we're sharing our findings, and we'd welcome their independent view of what that is. So I feel that this is a major contribution to the future of development on the south side, and our staff have been working on this now for a year and a half. The transmission main plans are done. They're with the EPA. The EPA needs about 6 months. We're looking to try to get some help from the EPA and a low-interest loan to make that possible. We have some money set aside in the budget for '26 to begin debt service. We may not have to pay the debt service until it might be '27 by the time we actually get that going, but we look to put that piping in the ground in '26 if we can. The well, we're doing a test well this fall on West Lincoln Highway, and a test drill. And we'll see if that shallow aquifer is where we think it is. We don't, it's not like an ant farm where you can look on you can do a cross-section and see. At least I don't think it is. Andy says no, so it must not be. So we have to, we've done our best to guess based on information we have, and now we're gonna go down and we're gonna drill and we're gonna see what we get. Sometimes you get a lot of sand and wrong spot, you know, but we'll see where we are. I'll stop.
Cohen, has the spirit moved you to speak, or are you satisfied back there?
This is all, not news for me, so.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, all right.
Thank you for asking.
Yes, yes, okay. Brian, you're shaking your head. Are you? I'm good. Okay.
I don't know whether it's appropriate to bring it up, but reviewing all these budgets,
Yes.
I've noticed significant increases in the health insurance.
Mm.
That's big expense.
Shelley Anderson, our HR director, who lives and breathes this every day, is going to talk about this.
As you may know, there is a lot of increase in health insurance. We do have increases this year. Last few years, we've had kind of a minimal increase, but we also have an increased number of employees. So by hiring new police and fire, every one of them that comes on is going to be an expense. So that's where the costs have come from.
Makes sense. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, another question I noticed,
Good.
last year's budget and this year's, our spending on overtime is considerable. And as we get closer to good staffing levels for police and fire, can we expect
Yeah.
that, those dollars to go down?
Good question. So, heretofore, the old saw that if we just staff up, we'll cut down on the overtime, didn't always come true. But it's more than likely going to come true with the staffing that we have in police and fire now, because we were under a certain level before. Now, you'll notice it's sort of leveled off, but it's a high number. So, and we're looking to, both of our chiefs are working on that, the fire chief in particular, but we have been growing to provide coverage, whether it's on anti-crime or it's on health services that we're providing through our ambulance services and so forth, which have gone up incredibly in the last 5 or 6 years, the calls that we're running and so forth. So we have to fill in. If we can't not show up for these calls. So that's what we're doing right now. Overtime is up. Our expectation, and I'll say my expectation, is that does level off when we hit a certain level. Like, for instance, right now, we have a jump company down at the News Fire Station, which means we have 3 people rather than 5. But we haven't been able to hire that. It's a progressive, it's a gradual process. We don't just go out and grab. And we're trying to make good hires, and people are gonna be with us. So, that means if, you know, the station is gonna be empty sometimes, but if we're really busy, we're trying to hire back, right? Just to fill the barn. We have, you've seen the difference that the current staffing level in the police department has made. When I started here, we were under 60, and we're up at 75 now. And we're just now getting to a point where we can also make an impact on the roads, and we want to do more there. But we took a breath here based on natural revenue sources and what we thought we could do, so that's where we are. I think what I'm hearing, and we have an acting chief now, and Lou Calvison, who's in the back, and he hasn't. Were you acting? Yeah, you were acting chief in August too, and Chief Byrd, who's been here fighting the fight longer in his role. But those two are outstanding in trying to provide the response and at an agreeable cost. And I think we're on the road to making a difference there. You can hold me to that this time next year and see where we are. But they know very well what we're trying to do, and they are doing everything they can. And with the command staffs that they have, they understand. There's no doubt about that. I'm very pleased with where we are in those 2 operational departments in particular. Good question. It's not where none of us want to be there.
Even Public Works had a big increase in 2025 over the 24 actual,
Yeah.
so.
Well, in the budget, but the actual is not going to be a problem as much. Yeah, the actual will probably be down. So one of the problems you have, and I have too, we're looking at a projection of a budget, that's all we know for sure, and we have an actual trend, but it's not the final actual, so you're looking at some numbers. Now, we tend to be conservative on the revenue side for this too, as Greg has seen. For the last 3 years, I've way underestimated sales and use taxes and state income taxes, and as you look through those general charts, you see, well, what's the difference? How did we get from here to there? Well, that's because in 24, we now know what the actual was, and it was up here, and the 25 budget was down here. It doesn't make sense, so we're up here for the 26 projection. But we hadn't been doing that. In fact, one year, about 3 years ago, the sales and use taxes combined for the next year were less than we had from the previous actual year. And we never went that low even during the COVID year. There was always a little bit of a bump. So we shoot in the dark a lot because we don't get to see the returns. Like if we were a private business, every day we could count the sales, right? But we can't. It takes us 3 to 4 months to see those, and you think, well, it feels good. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. So.
Lynn?
Yes, please.
At our last meeting, we had some discussion about needed improvements at the airport, particularly to meet demand from NIU. Is there anything included in this that starts that process?
I don't have the airport fund there. We have, I give Andy Rye credit for this. For the last 2 years, 3 years, he knows. For the first time in, say, 20 years, the last 3 years, we've been in the black at the end of the year. And it's been a little bit better every year, and we will be again this year. Now, we're not saving so much that we can go out and do a major capital investment. We are talking to some people now who finally might want to, they see things are happening, and we've got fencing going up now and so forth. They may want to invest in T-hangers. We've got somebody looking at that, a building or 2. And then I mentioned to you, I think at the last time, that we were looking at some kind of a commercial building at the corner at Peace and Pleasant. And we even have, we paid out of the airport fund some $3,000 or $4,000, whatever it was, for some conceptual designs, what it might look like, something that might bring people in, not just travelers to the airport, but people passing by. It's a very, very busy intersection there. So we have somebody who's interested in talking about that too. Same person, actually, might want to do some T hangers and might want to invest in that. We would be the owner of the land, and we would do a land lease for, you know, they could build a suit or whatever there's some movement that we could go through, so we have some plans. Now, Part 139 is what you were thinking about, so that we can get to the point where we can land, MC, what are they, is it 120 seats, 120 or 140, 737 size planes on a regular basis. We can do it now as emergency on our northeast southwest runway, which is runway 220. But that's about a $10 million proposition, and we haven't found the $10 million. But we're doing little pieces of it. The fencing now, that's part of it. Interestingly, that doesn't seem like much, but it's millions of dollars, and it's an absolute requirement the FAA has to keep varmints and others off of the, and it's a high fence. To land that kind of a plane, you know, we're going to be in the Mountain West Conference this time, this time next year. So
Yes.
we will be the only team that will not be able to land people in our municipality, but they can go to Rockford. They could also go to DePage, but it'd probably be Rockford. But we've been talking to some charter, there'd be, what, 5 or 6 games a year to start. So we've been trying to work on that, see if there's some people want to take a real flyer at an investment that someday will pay off. But we haven't found that person yet, or that company. We're keeping up our fueling facilities, making repairs. This year, our transportation improvement program for the airport included some new snow removal equipment, and that's been sorely needed. And Andy and Ben, who's our trumpeter, who's our airport manager, have been able to get those pieces of equipment ordered, and we're going to have them in time in November for this coming winter.
Thank you.
Anything else on this part? Are you still contented back there? You prepared me for you to leap up and be consultative, so I'm ready here.
I mean, for me, the biggest, not the biggest change, one of the most significant changes is we've been lowering our property tax rate, you know, year after year after year. Well, we're not doing that this year. We're keeping the rate the same, right, which is phenomenal. We can't control increased value in commercial properties and homes. That's beyond our sphere. The only thing that taxpayers are going to have to realize is your home went up almost 10%, just shy of 10% if I remember right. They're going to pay extra. From what I'm hearing from the other taxing bodies, most of them, it sounds like, are going to hold the rate the same, which is great, 7.9, one of the lowest in the region. But with the 10% increase, homeowners are going to pay more money out of pocket this year for the first time in quite some time. And that disturbs me. It's not something I'm comfortable with, but we can't keep driving the rate down like we have without that incredible amount of increased EAV. We've been able to benefit from it. I think we've done a great job. All taxing bodies have done a great job holding the taxpayer harmless as much as we possibly can. But there is a point where we have to, our costs are going up. We have to be able to collect that increased revenue. So that's the only thing for me that is just not concerning. It's just, I wish it was different after, you know, the 5 years that we've had. But that's the reality that we're facing. Now, when I say we, Bill and city staff do an incredible job trying to attract new development. And I call it the sales funnel, is full. There's a lot of stuff out there. Need a few more stars to align, but who knows? If what we're looking at actually materializes, we could get back to reducing the tax rate again and holding the taxpayer harmless. So there's not a lack of effort from city staff to try and continue the trajectory we've been on, that path we've been on, into the foreseeable future. And I hear what former Alderman Perkins is talking about with the police and fire pension as well. Like, at some point, when are we going to like increase our payments and things like that? But the math just doesn't work. And I know you keep saying we can't rely on Springfield. We're going to rely on Springfield. There are enough municipalities out there that are in worse spot than us. I always say in 2033, I'm going to drive down to Springfield. I'm going to hand the keys to City Hall to the governor and say, I guess the city of DeKalb's yours now because we're broke. There are other communities that are going to be in 2028, 2029, that's going to happen. There's going to be some serious political pressure applied to the state to make that change. And as City Manager Nicholas said, we're hearing there's a higher probability that this spring they might actually make that change from 2040 to 2050, which is significant. But that model that they have just doesn't work. There's no fixing it. If we took our entire fund balance, just threw it towards it, we're still going to go broke by 2035 or something at that point. So we need Springfield to make a change on that, and I do believe it's going to happen. But right now, we're focusing on the streets, we're focusing on everything we're doing. I think those members that have been on this for a while know how responsible our city administration is when it comes to finances. My gosh, I'm really proud just to be a little cog in that wheel, but I think we do a great job with the revenues that are coming in, spending them effectively to give the taxpayer the biggest benefit that we possibly can. We've done a phenomenal job at that, and we'll continue doing just that. But overall, I just wanted to comment on the tax rate is something that there's going to be a lot of education, so make sure you're educating your neighbors, your friends, your family in the area about what that actually means, but we should all still be proud we're holding the tax rate the same. That is good, responsible government, in my opinion. That's all. Thanks for letting me make a comment.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
There's a form. Yes.
Would you like to talk about that levy now,
Yeah,
or additionally?
I usually bring forward a recommendation. It's up to you if you'd like to make a recommendation. What's in the background is what I thought was the best course to follow. I've made a passing reference to two other possibilities where we don't have control over one of, or maybe two of the three variables. So as the mayor said, I think we're in an odd position this year. The EAV has actually increased even after the full assessed, the full abatements have come into play for the buildings on the south side, except for Kraft Heinz. And we still had $100 million more than we did last year, but that's just how the numbers play out. So we just don't control everything. It would be nice to have that perfect flight path, but we can't hit that every year. Kraft Heinz will make a big difference apart from just the usual multiplier, which was significant again this year, and it drove prices of property up and did help us some, but not enough. So if you're looking for a place where that is
That's
represented,
page
you can see it on
I think it's page 4.
It's,
isn't it?
it's everywhere. It's
Yeah,
page,
yeah,
but you
I
can start on
know.
page 2, and you can see it's 8,979,039.
Yes.
I've already shaved that down about 30,000 because running at the 8% level, which is where we were last year, we would have been at about 9,008,000. So it's down from that. But if we try to make it so we actually, the average that, and this is always speculative, of course, but that average homeowner that we use this, that we've been using for 7 years now, with their increased value for their property, where they would not be paying another dime in property tax, we'd have to cut deep and go deeper into the general fund reserve, as I mentioned in the background. So I don't recommend that.
Comments? No?
Good.
No?
I think we hold the line.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my
Okay.
recommendation, so.
Hold the line on the rate.
Yep,
That's what we're trying to do.
yep, because the other two options are
Not
not
good.
desirable. No.
I do worry under table 8 in that handout that I sent to you this morning,
Yeah,
that where it's blown up, that last option, we get down to 56 cents a hundred. I don't know how we maintain that.
no.
So then you'll be hearing from people, well, how come my rate went up 20% this year? And then how do you answer that? I will say, and it's a compliment to the mayor and council and you and everybody who works on these budgets year in and year out, that the fact that we wrestle with this is because you take this very seriously, and we have been leading the charge. No other taxing body, local taxing body that's on your tax bill
Yep.
has been out in front taking a haircut every year, the way we have. And there is a point where it's just not feasible to maintain our operations. And the bounce back would be so dramatic if we got caught, if we had another COVID year or something like that. This is the one thing we control. It's what the lenders and the rating agencies look for us to keep pretty stable, pretty steady. So this is.
So the rate the same.
Yep.
Okay. Do you need us to officially vote, or since the body is?
Well, you're nodding.
Yes.
Can I assume that that's the majority of the?
Yes, I believe we are all nodding and
Okay.
saying yes to you.
Okay.
Yes,
I'll bring that forward.
that is definitely the sense of the body.
Okay, that's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay,
Thanks, Bill.
well. Yeah. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those, do we have to vote on an adjournment, or is that a non?
The voice vote.
Voice vote. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Abstentions? Thank you very sincerely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.